Hi everyone. So today we're going to discuss my favorite trip planning tool, and that's Trello. I use it all the time. I've used it for more than half a decade at this point, but I think it's going to be useful for anyone out there who's planning trips, creating itineraries, but in more of a group setting, whether that's with family or that's with friends. This is going to help you elevate just a little bit more than sort of like a Google Doc or a Word doc. It's just going to take it a little bit to the next level with very minimal effort for something that I think is going to provide a great reward and great benefit. So if that sounds like you at all, then stay tuned. We're going to dive into what's so great about the tool and how you yourself can generate the board, because that's all well and dandy, but if I don't show you how, then what's the point? So we're essentially going to take you from something that looks like this, a blank slate, to something more along the lines of this, a robust, visually aesthetic itinerary that you can share with friends and family as you curate and craft your travel plans. Okay, so there are 4 main reasons why I think Trello is a fantastic tool. And no, they're not paying me to say this. They don't know I'm saying this. But I feel like I've gotten so much benefit from it over the years that I might as well just walk through that process. So first things first, simplicity. It is easy to use, very straightforward, and you only have to worry about 4 things: boards, list, cards, and checklists, which are part of cards, but you're gonna need them. Trust me. So those 4 things, that's it. That's the foundation of Trello. So boards are essentially what you would create for an individual trip. So for example, taking a look at this Bali 23, which is a trip that I previously went on with friends, this is the board, the entire thing. And what we're looking at in the board, these columns are what you would call list. So boards, list, and lists are comprised of cards. So all of these things telling me about the location and activity, these are cards. Now, here's where checklists come in. In the to-do, we kind of cross out all the things we needed to book or schedule. This is where this comes in handy. And this is what a card looks like. So you open it up, this to-do is a card, but so is this elephant safari. That's a card. It's more of an image card in this case, but that's all it is. That is all you need to know, and that's all that's going to be relevant, because there's a lot that Trello does offer. This is not a trip planning tool, it's a project management tool. So there's a lot that can be offered, and there's a lot of power-ups and functionalities that can be utilized, but for our purposes, all we care about are the 4 things, and that's boards, lists, cards, and checklists. That's it. Simple and straightforward. Okay, so the next reason that I think Trello is great for itineraries in this particular purpose is the visual organization of it. This gives you a much better visual summary of what my friends and I did, or planned to do while we were in Bali, just based on the images. So that elephants, monkeys, sunrise tours, flower bath, like just by scrolling through, you get a much better gist of what we had planned, as opposed to us just saying this is what we're gonna do. Like visually, if I share this with anyone, which I have, you can kind of see them all lined up here. If I share this with anyone, they understand what the trip is just visually. They don't have to read through too much. They can look at it, and without even looking at any of the words, they know what we're doing or what it's going to look like there. And I'm just saying that's in comparison to having some words or a list in something like Google Docs or Microsoft Word. So comparatively speaking, I think the visual really helps. And obviously you can add photos to Google Docs, but there's a lot that's offered here. There's a lot, but if you want to miss out, that's on you, but it's okay. So moving right along, the third reason I think this is a great tool is the collaboration aspect. So as I mentioned, for anyone who's interested in, group trips, or they're planning and it's not just themselves, it's not solo, this is going to be helpful regardless, because in addition to the visual aesthetic of it all, there's also the functionality of having everything that you need in one place. So for example, Take flights. We had the booking reference number of everyone in the group, or we should have had the booking reference number for everyone in the group, as well as the confirmation images. So we knew at any point in time what was the flight plan, what was the confirmation, if anyone needed to call in and say, hey, I need additional information. All of that information in the form of a screenshot was included. All I needed to do was open the card on flights to get that information. And that's available to anyone in the group with the collaboration feature. So you no longer have to share anything via email. You don't have to look it up in your email. You don't have to worry about like, okay, all the screenshots are in the Word doc. Let me go through each one, or all the screenshots are in an album on your phone. You don't need to do all that. You simply go to the card that references whatever it is you're looking for, and you can find that information. Everything is here. Everyone has access, so long as you have a internet connection, obviously. So that collaboration feature of everyone being able to see everything, as well as check things off the checklist, add cards, remove cards, move things around, that to me is priceless. And yes, you can do that on a Google Doc, but not to the extent of Trello, of where you can actively plan together. So I've had instances where my friends and I are on a call and we pull up our Trello board and we're like, okay, this is what we're booking today. We're going through the checklist. Everyone can see the links to things. And it's just neatly packaged to where we can all upload our confirmation emails, our confirmation codes, what have you, into that specific card. So we don't have to go searching for it later on. It just makes it so much easier to find. But again, in a very collaborative sense. Now, the final reason that I think Trello is an amazing tool, and I think you're all gonna love this reason. It's free. It's free. You can't beat that. It's free, guys. It's free. And you're probably like, okay, what's the catch? Are they selling our information? Like, what are they doing? I don't think they are. But the reason it's free, or at least the reason I'm telling you it's free based on what I've shown you, is that Trello is primarily a project management tool. It's not necessarily made for trip creation. So all the things that we need and we're going to utilize, which are boards, lists, cards, and checklists, all of those features are included in the free version. However, if you're someone who's in project management, that's just not sufficient. There are a lot of power-ups like the calendar tool and different things that's going to be very relevant to someone in a project management workspace. That's just not needed for our purposes of crafting a beautiful itinerary. So cheers to that. You can't beat that price. You really can't. The only call out that I do have, a little asterisk or caveat to it being free, is that one of the things they do restrict with it being free is how many people you can share the board with. Because once you share the board with, they are collaborators, they can make changes, they can edit, they can do all the things. So it limits the amount of people that you can add on the free version. And I believe you can only share it with like 4 additional people, 4 or 5 potentially. So that's the only caveat there. And that's what happens when things are free. You don't get the full capacity of the tool. Should you wish to upgrade or pay for more, that's fine. But again, for the purposes of building these amazing itineraries, I don't think it's necessary. Now, I know in the beginning, I might have mentioned that, hey, creating stuff in Google Docs or even Microsoft Word isn't the best place to house it. However, that is our starting point. That's where we're going to start. So starting with this itinerary that I created using ChatGPT, so I can't verify how great of an itinerary it is, but using that as the starting point for itineraries that you already have or any trip that you're already planning, when you put it together in your Word doc, you can lay everything out to make it easy to translate into your Trello board. So we have our itinerary. This is going to be our starting point. And with that, we're going to hop into Trello. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Create button to create a board. And I'm just going to name it Cape May Weekend. And for our purposes, even though it's an extra step, I like adding a background image that relates to the board that's being created. So in this case, I'm just going to click these 3 dots, see more, and I'm going to type in Cape May. And it's going to show me some options for images or photos that are related to Cape May. So lighthouse, Does seem very Cape May-ish, but I think the beach is probably going to be our best option. So that's what I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick beach here. Okay, now once that's selected, you can go ahead and create the board. We're not starting from any templates. We're not starting for anything I have. I want you to have full freedom over what's generated. So what's generated is a blank board. There's no list. There's no card. It's just you, okay? But you got this. I believe in you. I believe in you, okay? Okay, so we're gonna make 4 lists corresponding to each of the days, as well as a pre-trip to-do list. I do this with all of my board, so pre-trip to-do list. And we're gonna come back to that list later. For now, we're gonna add it, and we're gonna do day 1. Ooh, I cannot type for the life of me. Day 2 and day 3. It's a long weekend, so 3 days. I do usually like to add a name, so day 1 being arrival, day 3 being departure, and whatever the theme of day 2 is, I put that in there. For a longer trip, that definitely helps, whether it's a museum day, a relaxing day, that helps. But for our purposes, it's just going to be arrival, departure, and nature plus leisure. Okay, we have that out of the way. So now all we're going to do is we are going to, all of these words in the listed itinerary are going to become cards. So don't worry about the images for now. We're just translating everything we have written here into the Trello board. So we're going to start with breakfast at George's.
I kinda adore you, but don't get too proud. You're like my favorite snack, I won't say it out loud. I won't say you're perfect, we all know you're not. But hey,
and there you go. We have all of the items on our itinerary translated into the Trello board. I admit it seems a bit tedious, but trust me, it's worth the reward. Now, once we have this done, and you don't necessarily have to start from a Google Doc or sort of like a Word file. If you have this written down on paper, you would start there. If, for example, let's say you want to build it out in the Trello board as you go along and add cards and move things around, that is an option. However, I just want to show what it's like to start with something you already do have, which is an itinerary, and how you can take that to the next level. Now, once we've done with this, we're just going to go ahead and populate images. So in our case, I believe the first stop is breakfast at George's place. I'm going to assume this is a popular restaurant. Because it's only for personal use, I like to go ahead and just copy images right out of Google, no questions asked, to make the board look exciting. So I usually don't worry about like, oh, this copyrighted. At most, 4 other people are going to see this board. It's fine. I mean, I guess you guys are going to see it, but you can also look these up on Google. So once I've done that, just by pasting it into the board, literally I just click paste. I can go ahead and see that this is now the title image of the card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look up images for most of these items. And that's just going to give anyone who's looking at the board the ability to see what it is that I'm talking about, what this activity or this monument is going to look like, so they have sort of an idea. And I just pick any image that I so choose. It's really up to personal preference, but I just go ahead and populate that. Super quick, it's easy. But as you can see, things are somewhat starting to come together. Okay, so now that we have a few of the images populated, you would go ahead and do it for any of the cards that you think deserve visual representation. I don't always do it for everything. So for example, arrival might not have anything, but if arrival is the only thing I'm going to be doing on day 1, then I might put something like a stock image of someone dragging a suitcase or like a flight touching down, something. It's really up to you how you choose to do it. Now, one thing I add to enhance it is just modifying how the cover photo is displayed. So instead of, sort of having the text below, I like to move it to having an overlay of the text on top of the image. So something that I do, but again, it's really based on the viewer's preference. Now, one thing I do want to spend time on is this pre-trip to-do list. One card I like to add is the summary card, and the purpose of this card is to have a checklist of all of the things you're expected to do for that trip. Whatever is on the itinerary that requires some action on my part other than the showing up, it could also be lunch reservation at popular restaurant. All of that goes into your checklist so that you or anyone else on the trip can always cross it off later and say, hey, we have done 25% of the pre-trip planning that needs to be done. In addition to this, what I like to do is add a card for accommodations and any sort of like activities. So these, I think, just make it easy to find everything in one spot. So for example, let's say you need to book several things. In addition to the zoo, you might need to book maybe seeing the lighthouse up close and in person, or just something, or getting into the park. All of that will be stored under activities, so I can include whether it's links to those activities, or I can include confirmation codes, screenshots, images, what have you. All of that can be included in this pre-trip to-do list. Now this card gives you one place to put everything, as opposed to this long document that's sort of like bogged down with a bunch of links. And that's it. We are done. So thank you everyone if you've been listening thus far, but I hope this is going to add value to your trip and travel planning journey and in building, visually appealing, practical itineraries. Trello has been a fantastic tool for me. I hope it does the same for you. And if you're interested in learning a bit more of how you create your own itineraries before you put it into Trello, like how do you figure out what are some of the best restaurants to try, or how do you figure out what activities you want to do, please comment down below so I can know if there's any interest in doing that, and I can walk you through what my process is even before we take things into Trello. But I'll end it here, and happy planning, guys. Take care.